Tokyo, Japan, a city known for its bustling streets, Godzilla and anime, holds a secret that few may know, the captivating world of paleontology. Amidst the skyscrapers lies a realm that takes us millions of years into the past, where gigantic creatures roamed the earth. But what if you came to Tokyo looking for exactly that? Looking for the traces of these beasts? Where do you start? Humans and dinosaurs, welcome to a dinosaur lover's guide to Tokyo! A guide/adventure that will transport you back in time in the city of Tokyo. Get ready to embark on an unforgettable journey through the vibrant streets of Tokyo, Japan, as we uncover the hidden paleontological and/or dinosaur-related treasures that lie within this bustling metropolis. Our first destination is located right next to the National Museum of Nature and Science in Ueno Park. There it is. The Dinosaur Expo has been something that has been happening every 2 years or so. Last time, the star dinosaurs were Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops, but this year, the exhibition has a bit more unique species as the guest. This year's top star is Mape Acrothorax and Zool Cursvator. The expo is no longer in Tokyo, unfortunately, so if you want to see the exhibition, you would not be able to see it until 2025, where the next expo will be. However, if you really want to see the real fossils of Zool and Mape, you can do so at the Osaka venue of the exhibit, which has opened on the 8th of June. The exhibition is generally divided in two parts, the herbivore part and the carnivore part. The herbivore section goes over how various methods of defense evolved within herbivorous dinosaurs, such as armor, or even their sheer size. The carnivore section goes over various carnivorous dinosaurs in the world, and how they evolved to take on these defenses. I was fortunate enough to arrive just in time for a museum guide from an English-speaking paleontologist, Benjamin Breeden, who is currently working at the Natural History Museum in Tokyo. So I'll be borrowing some of his words to explain the amazing, real fossil specimens the exhibition had on the show. Indeed, one of the most amazing parts of the exhibition is that you can actually see the real fossils, and not just replicas of some of the most scientifically noteworthy species of dinosaurs. Once you pass the first entry of the exhibition showcasing the cladogram of the dinosaurs, you get to see some primitive herbivores such as Heterodontosaurus, Eodromeus, and Ankylosaurus. Ankylosaurus is actually not a dinosaur, but presumed to be a coelosaurid, a group of animals that share a common ancestor with the ancestor of all dinosaurs. Alongside these three small but odd herbivores is another small herbivore, although this one is somewhat special. This is Scutellosaurus loweri, a dinosaur known to be one of the most direct ancestors of the lineage of armored dinosaurs, the Sauroporeans. Unlike the other herbivores, this one has small bumps alongside its back, called osteoderms. These are the first steps of herbivorous dinosaurs on their way of evolving armor. Soon, or depending on what you define as soon, but it's honestly more like 5 million years, these creatures would evolve into much more well-armored forms. A good example of this is the Scelidosaurus. Scelidosaurus is one of the earliest examples of the Sauroporeans that lived around 191 million years ago in what is now England. This specimen of the basal armored dinosaur was uncovered in 2000, and it's one of the best preserved examples of its species to date. Take a look at those osteoderms. Across the Scelidosaurus, you can see a cutout with some bones of the dinosaur Puertosaurus, alongside a replica skeleton of a yet another primitive dinosaur, Eoraptor. Unlike what the name Eoraptor implies, this small carnivore is not the ancestor of the dromaeosaurs, or the so-called raptors.
Clever girl.
This is the ancestor of the long-necked dinosaurs such as the Puertosaurus. And speaking of Puertosaurus, the pink parts marked on the skeletal are the parts of the bones on display, which is a vertebra and a piece of the neck. It's pretty awesome and quite creative how they used a cardboard cutout to effectively show the scale of a dinosaur, but even the largest of dinosaurs such as Puertosaurus started off small. These are fossilized dinosaur eggs. Interesting to note is that paleontologists actually gave these egg fossils their own name, used for classification, such as Fusolithus or Faveolithidae. The oolithus in these names means egg stone, And speaking of egg eaters, this is the egg of an oviraptor. As you move along, you'll see the glimpse of a stegosaurus. But is it? Because this is actually not a stegosaurus, but a close relative of stegosaurus, Hesperosaurus. Unlike the cherished rooftop lizard, this genus of dinosaur had more rounded off plates than the more sharp, pentagonal shaped plates of the stegosaurus. Despite Hesperosaurus being a herbivore, it was far from harmless. It had 2 rows of thagomizers on its tail that could inflict heavy injuries to any carnivore careless enough to take it on. Unfortunately, many of the stegosaurs did not make it through the Jurassic, and only a few such as the Harrasaurus and the Cretaceous managed to survive until the early Cretaceous before ultimately going extinct. But other herbivores quickly filled in the needs of armored herbivores of the Mesozoic. These were the Ankylosauria. The Ankylosaurs were much more heavily armored than the stegosaurs, with armor plates covering up the entire back, whereas the stegosaurs only had a row of plates. The Ankylosaurs can be split up into 2 parts, the Nodosaurids and the Ankylosaurids. A prime example of a nodosaur is the dinosaur Animantarx, a dinosaur that has become somewhat familiar known in the community due to Schleich's representation of the dinosaur in 2019. But having looked at the mount, the Animantarx looks quite different than the 4-year-old plastic depiction. The body is much more sauropelta-like shaped than the square, almost Desmatosuchus-like shape of the model. Unlike an Ankylosaurid, Animantarx had a more armored neck alongside a clubless tail. An example of an Ankylosaurid would be the Tarlorurus. Tarlorurus is famous for its rigid clubbed tail, which it could use to defend itself. Its body in general was much more rounder, with a wider ribcage as well. So what did these dinosaurs sound like? Common media such as movies and games tend to give armored dinosaurs low-pitched grunts. However, in recent years we have discovered fossils that show muscle attachments that control the vocal cords of the Ankylosaur Panachosaurus, and now we know that they had a diverse vocal range comparable to that of modern songbirds. This relatively new find was displayed alongside the skull of a Saichania. Check it out! At the end of the hall is a single skull of an Ankylosaur. This is not any Ankylosaur, however. This is the actual skull fossil of the most complete Ankylosaurs ever found, Zuul Cursvator. Zuul is one of the Ankylosaurs to have been discovered with skin impressions on his body armor. But Zuul is not the only Ankylosaur with a well-preserved body, such as the Scolosaurus, as seen on the Natural History Museum in London. But what sets Zuul apart is that we found both a complete tail and head of Zuul alongside its armor, which is extremely rare for a fossil of a large animal such as Zuul. We actually don't know how the armor plates of most Ankylosaurs are placed on their body. All the restorations you see from Ankylosaurs are educated guesses on how the plates are located on its body. Hence why Ankylosaurus seems to have a somewhat different armor structure through its many restorations since its discovery in the 1900s. So it's a welcome surprise that we can see the details of the armor of Zuul, and see how the scutes were placed on its body. Upon entering the room with Zuul, you can actually see 2 mounts of Zuul, with one body, which is the actual fossil still partially in its plaster jacket being displayed with the tail and a reconstructed skull, and the other, a cast mounted on the wall so we can see the underside of the fossil. If you look closely, you can actually see the labelings of the fossil on the rocks, which is proof that these fossils are the real deal. These markings are used as identifications of the specimen when placed in a museum storage for reference. The species name, Cursvator, means shinbreaker. With such an armored tail club, it is no wonder how it got the name. If you move a bit further from the actual fossils of Zuul, is a fossil mount of the theropod dinosaur Gorgosaurus liberatus, fighting Zuul Cursvator. Although we don't have any direct evidence of these two actually having fought battles, unlike the Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops, they lived in the same area in the same time zone, so such an interaction likely has happened more than once during the history of the Earth. Next to the battle mount is the actual skull fossil of Gorgosaurus. Again, you can see various identification marks on various pieces of the skull bones. This is the tree-boled Avaceratops, a yet unpublished ceratopsian dinosaur. Alongside its actual fossil is a full body reconstruction. I thought it looked like an Avaceratops at first glance, but despite its nickname, this specimen could possibly be a new species of Avaceratops, or even a new genus entirely, such as what happened to the Spletosaurus wilsoni and Tarkia tumanobae. And in the room with the tree-bowl Avaceratops is also not one but two Tyrannosaurus Rex mounts. These two tyrants are Tyson and Scotty. Tyson is a privately owned specimen of Tyrannosaurs, which has been lent to be showcased in the Dinosaur Expo. Although the topic and ethical discussion of the possessed and trade of fossils will be something I will be discussing in a much later date that I visited during Tokyo, I can't help but wonder how much of the mount is an actual fossil and how much is a replica. Alongside Tyson the Tyrannosaurus is a replica of Scotty, the largest Tyrannosaurus ever found, even surpassing Pseudo T-Rex. Standing in between these giants really made me feel like the guy in the Lost World Jurassic Park before getting ripped apart. But before I moved on, there's one small thing that caught my eye. On the wall across the two tyrants was the real fossil of the small dinosaur Scipionyx found in Italy. Scipionyx used to be known as a compsognathid, but it is currently debated as to whether it is actually a hatchling of a Carcharodontosaur. But one thing paleontologists can agree on is that this is an extremely well preserved fossil, with even traces of its digestive tract and guts. I first read about Scipionyx in a public library when I was 4, and it's really crazy that a fossil I would never dream of seeing in person is now only separated from me with a thick layer of plexiglass. Unfortunately, the real fossil of Scipionyx was only able to be seen in the Tokyo exhibit and would be sent back to its country of origin once the Tokyo venue has ended and be replaced with a replica in the Osaka exhibit. So in a way, I feel like I was very lucky to see the fossil in person. There's a hallway leading from the Tyrannosaur room to the next room, which showed various diagrams of feathered dinosaurs such as Psittacosaurus and Microraptor. So fun fact, the Psittacosaurus in the diagram is actually the specimen that can be found in the Zenkemet Museum in Germany. I remember visiting the museum constantly as a kid and seeing the specimens on display. And yes, this is the specimen that helped us know about the color and the butt of Psittacosaurus. After seeing a short clip of the NHK documentary, we move on to the next star dinosaur, the Mape Macrothorax, among a couple of other theropods. Mape is a relative of the Megaraptorid Megaraptor, a group of dinosaurs that has been the center of debate for years due to their mysterious trait of seemingly having huge clawed arms, which were originally thought to have been the cycloclaws of a dromaeosaur, hence the raptor in its name, which almost seems like the claws of fish-eating dinosaurs such as Baryonyx. But unlike Spinosaurs, these theropods likely ate meat instead of fish. Now we think that the Megaraptor was a relative group of the Tyrannosaurs, although some suggest they were related to Neovenators. Despite Mape's fossils being incomplete, it was enough for paleontologists to get a general look of how Mape looked like. For example, although the arms of Mape were not found, by comparing the fossils with Mape's relatives such as Megaraptor, it can be assumed that Mape had powerful arms to assist its clawed hand, which could deal a significant amount of damage to any prey it would take to be on its menu. One of the more notable features of Mape, that it was thick. Literally. The species name, Macrothorax, stands for large body. Mape had rib cages that showed it had a wider body compared to other theropods. The reason Mape is actually one of the main star dinosaurs is that it was discovered and described with the help of Japanese scientist Makoto Manabe, who is Deputy Director of the National Museum of Nature and Science, who also supervised this exhibition. Japan actually has a Megaraptoroid of their own, Fukuiraptor. Although more fragmentary than Mape, it likely also was a fierce predator in its own way. Next to the Fukuiraptor is a South American Abelisaur Carnotaurus. It might be a little odd for a Carnotaur to be in display next to a bunch of Megaraptorids, but on the NHK documentary that was shown before the Megaraptors actually featured a group of Carnotaurs fighting a group of Mape. Does it make sense for them to fight in a group? No. Was it cool? Absolutely. Next to the mount of the Carnotaurus is the arm of the Carnotaur. Carnotaurus was a dinosaur that had shorter arms that made the T-Rexes. This fossil mount of Carnotaurus is likely a cast, as only one specimen of Carnotaurus was ever found. However, the fossil was found in such a good condition that we know more about Carnotaurus than most other dinosaurs. Currently, the only specimen of Carnotaurus is displayed in the Argentine Museum of Natural Sciences. Next, we can see some modern dinosaurs, such as the recently extinct dodo bird and a nest restoration of the kingfisher. I don't know why, but I always thought the male kingfishers were bright blue. Well, I guess you learn something new every day. Alongside the reconstructed dodo skeletal mount, a real leg bone of a dodo bird can be seen. Last but not least, the gift shop. Very important for people like me. Yee! In fact, this exhibition's gift shop almost acts like a small exhibition in itself, showcasing how dinosaurs impacted media of today, alongside of how the exhibition exclusive Kyoto models were designed. Kyoto has always been making exclusive models for the Dinosaur Expo since 2002, and this year their models look just as nice. Noteworthy things in the store are the before mentioned Kyoto gacha models, in which there's 5 types to collect, such as the skeletal Gorgosaurus and Zool, Mape, and the life restoration version of Zool. And there is also a Tyrannosaurus, which was a repaint from the 2019 Dinosaur Expo. There is another large red exclusive Tyrannosaurus model made by Kyoto too. There were also loads of plushie dinosaurs, with 2 exclusive plushies being the Megaraptor Mape plushie and the Zool plushie. I ended up getting both of them. And for some reason, the Dinosaur Expo also had Yu-Gi-Oh related things. Like I get it, like I play Yu-Gi-Oh and I like dinosaurs too. There's dinosaur cards on Yu-Gi-Oh, but Yu-Gi-Oh actually collaborating with the dinosaur exhibition is not something that I expected. So there are Yu-Gi-Oh card sleeves picturing the Megaraptor. And if you also buy the deck box that is sold alongside it, you can also get 2 exclusive Megaraptor cards, which they are apparently gonna be great support for the upcoming Trans and Drag Dinosaur support. So yeah, these cards are like actually good. The exhibit also used to sell the exhibition exclusive Deinonychus and the Ankylosaur. Jeez, they sell a lot of exclusives there. But unfortunately for me, but fortunately for my wallet, they were sold out all the way back in April, only after a couple of weeks after the exhibit had opened. Apparently they're gonna be resold at the Osaka venue, so why don't you try your luck? So, this was the Dinosaur Expo 2023 Tokyo! As I said at the beginning, the Dinosaur Expo in Tokyo opens next to the Natural History Museum, so if you're more of a fast viewer, you could theoretically view the exhibit alongside the Natural History Museum. But the museum and expo both open at 9:30 and close at 5, so be aware of that when you visit. I'm more of a slow viewer, so there's no way I'd be able to view all of it in a single day. Also, the expo only allows a certain number of guests to enter each day, so I would recommend doing a reservation before you get in. Plus, if you do your reservation, you can also buy the metallic versions of the Kyoto dinosaurs, which I unfortunately missed. This opportunity to see the actual fossils alongside the newest discoveries really made me want to find dinosaurs and discover what secrets they have. And I can't wait for the next Dinosaur Expo, which will be filled with unique specimens just like this one. So, you've seen the fossils, bought some dinosaur goodies, but strive for more? Well, hope your wallet is still packing, because next time we're gonna be going to visit places to buy all sorts of dinosaur related goodies. Holy shit!